Yeah, guys, it seemed like we just got done with wheat harvest, just got off the combine, but due to the extreme drought conditions we're seeing here in West Tennessee, we just went and checked some corn, and it's already time for corn harvest. So we'll see you out here in the field in a few minutes. Yep, that's right. You heard me right. It is corn harvest time in West Tennessee. Sweet corn, that is. Sorry, not sorry for the clickbait title. I've always wanted to have a video titled First One in Tennessee to Harvest Corn, so this is going to be the year for that. Anyway, what we got here is the very first corn we planted, getting our planter set and everything. We had some Roundup Ready sweet corn that my buddy was able to source for me, and we always plant some every year, a small patch, just to grow some sweet corn for ourselves this year. And anyway, it is time to harvest. Even though it's really short and everything, we got some nice ears on here, and tasted one a couple of days ago and it tasted good. So we're gonna pick us a big mess of ears here and see if we can fill up the bed of this Can-Am. Well, here's a final haul of sweet corn. I think got somewhere around 300 ears. Or more. I don't know if we got the freezer space to store all this. Gonna be some real good eating though. This might be the only corn we harvested all this year. The way things looking. Well, it's Saturday. We missed the rain last night. Big line of storms went through the northern part of Tennessee. We didn't get a drop here. Fortunately, Dylan did get some rain. He told me he thinks he got somewhere around a ½ inch on a lot of farms, which is, it helps. It'll only buy a few more days as dry as it is. And we got another week of scorching temperatures coming up. Well, what we got coming up this week with the scorching temperatures and not much chance of rainfall, we're now it's official. We're in bad shape and really not much hope of improvement. Good Lord could send us a rainstorm at any moment. We don't know, but according to the weatherman, it's already ugly, and it's just going to continue to get uglier this week. Previously, the last really big drought that we had was 2012. Had terrible corn crop that year, but we got some rains later season that really helped out the bean and cotton crop, and we did okay on those. Before that, we had 2007, worst drought in 50-60 years. There wasn't a single crop that year that did good. Had like 90 bushel corn, averaged like 480 pound cotton. I had some wheat beans that averaged 2 bushels to the acre, and the only reason I cut them is because I had beans contracted that I was going to have to buy out of, so we cut every acre that we could. Now I think before that, getting back to my younger years, I think 1998 was a really bad year. I think we went like 45 days without rain then. Of course, then we weren't using cover crops. We weren't even no-till back in 1998. We were still conventional till, so our soils did not have the capacity to maintain our crops in the event of adverse weather. And I think we went like 45 days without rain, and we were all cotton at that time. That's all we planted, and we had a terrible cotton crop. I think I was 18 years old at that time, so anything that happened before then, I don't remember the years. I really didn't pay much attention, really didn't care too much. But that's just a little historical perspective. We're definitely on par with 2012, and we go this week, potentially it'll be a little bit longer. We're probably going to be on par with 2007 and 1998. But the difference between this year in those years is I spent, you know, the last 7 years practicing a lot of soil health practices, you know, not only no-till, but cover crops, manure, just really trying to build our soils up to try and weather these kind of weather events that we have, to be able to keep our crops to hang on long enough, you know, be able to store enough moisture in the soil, keep the soil temperatures cooler, give greater rooting depths, all those different things. You know, that's what we've done through the use of cover crops and manure and no-till, just to try and be able to buy us a little time to hang on long enough to where we can possibly get a rain, and the crop hasn't absolutely given up that point. So right now, I mean, the corn's ugly, but it looks better than it should, especially once you get into the little bit deeper soils, the sides of the hills where the soils are really thin. I mean, there's really not much hope for them. But you know, the corn does look better than I would expect it to. So it's showing me that our practices are helping. But I mean, we're quickly getting to the point to where, I mean, the practices we've done, I mean, it's got limitations. If there's no moisture in the soil, there's no moisture in the soil, and we're quickly getting to that point to where no matter what I've done, I mean, the crops are going to give up at some point. But right now, the cotton looks great. Corn does not look good. The full season soybeans, they look okay. And the double crop soybeans are just sitting there. You know, they were planted in the dust, and there's just not anything there to help them grow. And then on top of that, we sprayed it a couple days ago with Prefix, which is a pre-emerge herbicide, and it tends to burn the beans pretty bad. I was doing that with anticipation of getting rain last night and today, when we had a really good chance of rain in the forecast. Well, we missed that rain. So with that herbicide application, I might have just put the finishing touches on our double crop soybean crop. But I made the best call that I could at that time with the information that I had, but ultimately it looks like it was probably the wrong call. But anyways, that's the nature of the game. Originally, I was going to be on the hood sprayer again today, because we were supposed to have a decent chance of rain this afternoon, but they've taken the rain out of the forecast, and not really any rain next week. And I really don't want to put out these pre-emerged chemicals if there's no chance of getting it rained on. The chemicals just kind of sit there, the sunlight hits the chemicals, and then it degrades the chemicals after so many days. Then you spend all that money, and it's useless. So we're going to hold off until next week, probably get back on the hooded sprayer again next week, just try and buy a few more days until the next potential rainfall. So in the meantime, got something else I'm gonna work on. We got a dirty girl right here. This is the last thing we've got to get cleaned up from this spring and early summer. There's a planter here, and as dry as it was during wheat bean planting time, I mean, it is nasty. Because this is the newest piece of equipment I got, I want it to be the cleanest whenever it goes in the shed. But I'm ready to get this sucker cleaned up and parked in the shed where we don't have to see it again until next year. On another note, I had like 6 acres left to plant a new field that my landlord told me he wanted to plant. Too dry, beans probably not going to come up, but he wanted me to plant it anyway. So I sent Zach over there the other day to plant it. Had a little bit of seed left in the planter, and he had 1 round left in the field. You can see all that hydraulic oil. See how nasty it is right there. Had a hydraulic hose burst somewhere right here that goes all the way through the tongue. It's the hydraulic hose that actually lowers the planter. So I told him just fold the sucker up, bring it home. I was not going to try and change that hose out in the field in 100-degree temperatures. We will just wait and replace it this winter when we run this thing through the shop. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be working on this Saturday, getting started cleaning this sucker up, and hopefully next week we'll be able to get it finished up and get this thing parked back in the shed. Looky there, right in front of us. The highway department fixed this culvert crossing. I do believe they might be viewers of my channel, because that's the exact crossing, culvert crossing, that I was talking about during cotton planting that was so blasted rough. I wish the county would be smart about their roads. Seems like they always repave the road first, and then over the course of a few years after that, then they come in and replace the culverts. And then they go, of course, they got to fill it in with pavement, and it's rough as a cob. Would it not make more sense to maybe examine all the culverts before you pave the roads, and any that look like they won't last the life of the pavement, just replace them before you pave it? So here's another one right here. And I say something about it, and they come fix it. I think I might need to try that in Madison County. And hey, if it works in Madison County, I will hire myself out to come to your county and complain about the roads there, see if we can get something done about them.
Welcome to the summer edition of Cleaning Up Everything. Matt started on Saturday, and now I'm about to attempt to finish it today and tomorrow. He is on the hooded sprayer. Zach is hauling wheat, so between Matt and Zach, I'm gonna do this. So we're gonna take all the plates out and the springs, and we're gonna put them in these handy dandy little bags over here. We're gonna label them each, put them in a box, and put them up for next year. So that's what I'm doing in between Zach coming in and out and loading up wheat. So far Matt's got these 8 units done, and we have to be very careful because you cannot pressure wash any of this or it will be ruined. So it's tricky, but and also time consuming, but gonna try and get it done. They're all done, labeled in a box. That will go on the top shelf for next year. Now on to power washing. Yay.
Well guys, it's now 2 days later than when I gave you that Saturday report, and unfortunately things not looking any more promising. Back to 95 plus degrees today, no rain in sight. I think we got like a 20% chance of rain tomorrow and tomorrow night, but other than that, it's just going to be scorching hot. And I mean, the corn crop is past saving at this point. It's going to be what it's going to be. It's just a question of how bad is it going to be. In fact, I had to call Tyson today to just double check, make sure how much corn I had contracted, and tell them, you know, I might need to be exploring my options on getting out of some of my contracts. I had 100 bushels an acre contracted, which I mean should be guaranteed almost, but looking like this year it's 100 bushels might be really optimistic. I mean, if we make 100 bushels an acre at the prices we got, that's probably right at the break-even point. I know definitely won't be money made, but at least won't be any money lost. I mean, right now, corn is fired up. It's fired all the way up to the ear leaf, and in some cases, the ear leaf and beyond. I mean, it's fired up, which means it's dying literally all the way up the plant as it cannibalizes itself just to try and survive and add grain. And right now the corn's just not far enough along to have any kind of harvestable grain on there. So the good spots of the field still stand a chance of making a little bit. The thin spots of the field, I mean, it could very easily be zero. We won't know. You know, I've spoken how I like to learn lessons from my crop to better my management and be better next year than what I was this year. But this year I've had to be reminded of a lesson I've been taught before, but when you have success, it's real easy to forget that lesson. And I'm about to get religious for a minute. I'm sorry, but not sorry. You know, this is all part of me. It's all part of our operation, and I'm gonna talk about it. So if you're not comfortable hearing it, feel free to end the video right now. Over the last couple of years, you know, I've really tried to give you a perspective of not just what it's like to be a farmer, but to own a business, own a farming business, and everything that goes into being a successful farmer and trying to produce a crop. You know, it's not all just driving tractors and being in the field and what. There's a lot of stuff that goes in it, and I've talked a lot about all the choices, you know, I have to make day in, day out that can have implications for the rest of the season and even beyond, and how difficult that can be on me, you know, the stress it adds, you know, all that kind of stuff. Well, the lesson I've been reminded of again this year is that even though, yeah, I consider myself the boss of this farm, the person who runs it, the person who's got to make all the decisions, you know, ultimately I'm not the boss. No, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, He's the actual boss. He's already got a plan. He knows how that plan's going to go, and He's going to be the one that implements that plan. You know, I don't even know if this is really a good analogy, but I mean, technically, I'm an employee. I am here on this earth to do God's work, to implement His plan to the best of my abilities. You know, the success of this farm does not rest on my shoulders, even though it feels like it does. The weight of this farm does not rest on my shoulders. The fate of this farm has already been determined. The only thing I'm here for is to try and put God's plan into motion the best of my abilities, and to work as hard as I can at doing that. And that's a lesson I've had to be reminded of. You know, instead of going home and worrying about whether we're going to get a rain, whether we're not going to get a rain, what the right thing to do is, and all that kind of stuff, I've been reminded of the lesson to turn everything over to God. He's in control. He's got it covered. He's the ultimate boss of all of this. And the one thing I've never lost is the faith that God is going to provide. He's going to take care of us. I don't exactly know how He's going to do it or exactly what His plans are for me, but I know that I will be provided for in what is ultimately His plan. So just turn all these problems, everything that we faced this year, the stresses of this crop, the stresses of the drought, the stresses of the prices, you know, all the stuff that we've had to go through this year, I've had to get down on my knees and literally just turn it over to God instead of me trying to micromanage it. And that's, for me, that is something that's really hard, because I'm a micromanager. I'm extremely anal about every detail on this farm. But I've had to get down on my knees and turn all of this over to Him, knowing that He's in full control, and He's going to provide for us one way or other. Don't know how. I know we'll get through this, and it's not going to do me any good to sit there and worry about it and stress over it, because that's going to keep me from actually focusing my attention to working as hard as I can and implementing His plan. So the bottom line is, if we get a rain this Wednesday, turn some of these crops around and everything else, great, fantastic. If we don't get that rain, if we miss it like we've missed most other rains, you know what? We're going to be okay. I don't know how we're going to be okay, but I know we're going to be okay. Because God hasn't failed me before. He's not going to fail me now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work hard at running this sprayer today. And then when I get done at the end of the day, I'm going to go home, and I'm not going to worry about the weather forecast. I'm not going to worry about the corn crop that's burning up. I'm not going to worry about the contracts I've got. You know, I'm going to pray. I'm going to go home. I'm going to pray for guidance, that He gives me the wisdom to deal with these problems in the best way, what He wants me to do. And then I'm going to open up my ears. I'm going to open up my heart. I'm going to listen to what He has to say. And everything's going to be okay. I guarantee you, when Kelly watches this, she's going to be laughing her rear end off. Because she knows how anal I am about things, how, you know, how much attention to detail I put to things. She's going to laugh her rear off. Say, there ain't no way you can let go of this stuff and turn it over to God. But I am, and I have. Because God is the ultimate boss. Everything rests on his shoulders. We just got to get out of the way and quit trying to influence his plan. But regardless if you believe in God or not, I really hope you do. Myself and all the other farmers here in West Tennessee and across the U.S., you know, heck, even overseas, the farmers that are dealing with the war in Ukraine, all of our farmers in almost all parts of the world are having a really tough time this year. And we would really appreciate your prayers that we are able to persevere during these times. So anyway, that concludes my sermon for today. I hope if y'all are going through some tough times in your life, which I guarantee you there's quite a few of you that are going through some tough times in your life, you know, I hope you're able to listen to my words and hope you find solace and peace in the fact that, you know, ultimately we're not the ones in control. Turn your problems over to God. Have faith that he will provide. And ultimately, it might not be the way you want him to provide. It might not be what you think the best thing is. But his plan is perfect. And in the end, it will turn out far better than any plan that we can come up with. I've seen it time and time again in my life, and I know I will continue to see it as long as I have faith. Alright, what we're doing here is rinsing off the hooded sprayer. Just met up with my cotton scout in the field. He was out scouting today, and he was saying that the field that we were just in starting to get some spider mites in it on the cotton. But the fields I'm going to about to spray do not yet have the spider mites, so we're not wanting to transfer them from the contaminated field to this field. So we want to try and rinse any spider mites that we got here on the sprayer off before we start spraying this field, just to prevent introducing them into a new field. And spider mites are basically really tiny insects that are on the leaves of the cotton and are sucking you know, juices and getting nutrients from the cotton. And they really only pop up in really hot, dry weather like what we're experiencing. And if we don't get a rain soon to wash them off the leaves, there's a good chance we might have to spray for them next week. Because the last thing we need is for this cotton to be under any more stress than what it already is. However, the chemicals used to control spider mites are kind of hard to get and extremely expensive. So the best thing we can do now is use cultural control methods to, you know, try and not move them from field to field.